say God won't take your children. God took his child because of his sin. You know, if you got little kids and you're not living right, you're walking on thin ice. That's the kind of way I think about it. If you're not doing what you should be doing, you're walking on thin ice. He took Pharaoh's child. God took, during when they were getting out of Egypt. I mean, it's in the Bible. If you study it enough, you'll find all that kind of stuff in there. And that's the end of David's life. He wanted to build the temple. That was his goal most of the time during his, preaching or his king, being a king. He wanted to build a temple for God. God didn't let him build a temple because of those reasons right there. And that's why Solomon's temple, called Solomon's temple. Well, after David died, Solomon took over and just pretty much immediately started building the temple. So there's always something that falls in between whatever you may be doing. If you do something wrong, there's forever action has a reaction most of the time. Saul was the first king of Israel. And Saul was, from what I've read about Saul, he was a fine-looking man. He was one of the best-looking men that was in all of Israel. But, again, Saul went through his being king, let it go to his head again. He let it go to his head, and he decided that when he supposed to went and fought, he was supposed to kill everything. Men, women, children, cows, calves, donkeys, everything. And then not even take the gold, just leave it there. Well, Saul took the gold, and he even took the king, and took some of the cattle, and then went back, and then decided he'd done wrong. And he couldn't wait for the priest to get there, so he decided he'd play priest too. He decided he'd be the one to sacrifice. And so it says in the Bible, at that time, as the Spirit of the Lord left him. And, having the Spirit of the Lord to lead you would be a bad feeling. I wouldn't want to think about not having the Spirit of God with me when I'm going through this kind of trouble. It said he was so messed up in his mind, he was going to the soothsayers and the magicians and all them trying to get answers. And finally, Saul ended up dying on his own sword. He ended up falling on it himself because nobody else wouldn't kill him. But he was king. Jonah, everybody knows the story about Jonah and the whale. Everybody's heard that. A lot of people don't go ahead, don't read it. They just hear what they hear about Jonah and the whale. Everybody knows that Jonah was running from God because he wanted him to go to Nineveh. And I think that's right, Nineveh, close enough. Go to Nineveh and warn them of their enemies were going to take over the camp and take over the city, and they were going to be thrown out. Well, he didn't want to preach that, so you know the story. He went out on the ship and told him in. He got swallowed by the big fish, and then he got vomited back up on the shore, and then he went to Nineveh. And I think, maybe he's wrong, it's just my thing. I still don't think he really wanted to go to Nineveh. It's kind of like, it's better being in a whale belly type thing. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm in a whale belly, I'm thinking, yeah, I'll go to Nineveh and get out of here. So he goes to Nineveh and he does a short, quick message. I don't think he went in there and started beating the walls down and hooping and hollering. I think he went in and he said, people of Nineveh, he said, you've been sinning, and your enemy is going to overthrow you in 40 days. And he didn't say pray. He didn't say nothing. Don't say a thing there where he said, y'all need to pray, nothing. He didn't say nothing. He said, so I think he just said, according to what it says, he turned around and he walked off. He goes up on the mountain. or the sun's beaming on his head, and he just sits there. What there, I've heard a preacher sitting there looking down or looking yonder. What he's doing is sitting there looking back at the city, waiting for the fight. He's looking forward to watching the fight. Like kind of Mike Tyson and somebody else going to be fighting. He's sitting there, he's looking. Well, he sits there, and sits there, and sits there, and what he ends up seeing until the fight is the whole city, as the king told them, we're going to fast, put on sackcloth, and get nasty. We're going to pray for these 40 days. And he's sitting there in the sun, waiting for the fight, and he's seeing all this. Well, God pardons the city. That's one time he changed his mind. He said, I'm not going to destroy the city because how much the whole city has done to get my forgiveness. What happened if this whole city was not actually getting sackcloth and ashes, but actually say, everybody gather together as much as they could in one place, say, God, forgive us in this city. What would really happen in this city? There's just no telling what could happen as far as work-wise or anything. So, he's still sitting there, and he sees all this, and instead of being happy for him, he's complaining. He's sitting up there, and he's complaining, I preached this, God, and here you ain't doing it. You ain't doing what you said. And he ain't worried about the people. He's worried about what everybody thinks about Jonah. And, here's Jonah, I'm the prophet. Now here you're not doing this, and I'm sitting up here looking like a dummy. And he's hot. He said, it's been dead. Just let me die. He's all down on himself, pitiful about it. And the God felt sorry for him. And during the night, he lit a vine grow up over his head, give him shade the next day. Out of the sun, and maybe that's like when we get mad, we got to go cool off a little bit. So he let the vine grow over his head. So then that next night, he said, worms eat the vine. The vine died. So instead of him being thankful he had shade one day, he complained because he didn't die like the vine died. That's pretty much the end of Jonah. He did one thing that I've ever read that he's done. He talks about it in a couple other places in the Bible about what happened to him. What could he have done if he had said, God, I'm going to go do what you tell me to do? What could he have actually accomplished during his lifetime? He come in with just a few words, and the Bible said it saved 6,000 people. With just a few words. And me and a bunch of other preachers, we preach our whole lifetime, not see that get saved sometimes. You don't see people get saved. But what could he have done if he had just done what God wanted him to do? Anyhow, that was the end of Jonah. And then but what's going to hinder us from doing what we need to do? Is it going to be our job? Is it going to be our cars? Is it going to be our house, our children, our grandchildren, our wife, our husband? Are we going to stay home? I decided that being a Christian, until like being on a diet, it's how many, I bet you have, but I know a lot of people have been on a diet, and you've lost 30 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever, and then you gain it right back after you get through the diet. And, and it's just like being a Christian as far as going back to singing. If you're on that diet, and I've been there and done it several times, on one now, but you go out after you've lost the 30 pounds, and you're starting to really look good and feel good about yourself and think, hey, look what I've done, I'm doing good. So one night you're out and about and you think, well, I'm going to